Clear prop.
Tower 73, Yankee number 2, following twin traffic, 3 mile final, clear passenger. 1 Charlie Bravo, makes straight in runway 25, join 4 mile final.
This is Behind the Prop with United Flight Systems owner and licensed pilot Bobby Doss and his co-host, Major Airline Captain and Designated Pilot Examiner Wally Mulhearn. Now let's go Behind the Prop.
What's up, Wally?
Hey, Bobby, how are you?
I am fantastic as always. This week is a little bit of a different show. It is a show about me. That's interesting. We're going to have this show be a day in the life of a flight school owner. We've actually recorded this show probably almost 2 years ago, and I thought we did such a bad job that we ultimately just canned the whole thing. And I don't think that we did a bad job as much as the prep work for the show was not the quality that we expect. So we've done a little bit of prep work. We're ready to talk. I get asked all the time, what's it like? Where do you put all your gold bars? What's it like to deal with maintenance? And I just don't think people understand what it's like to be a flight school owner. I would bet you might relate to this. Let me just throw out one little tidbit stat that we didn't prepare for. How many hours a week do you think I spend talking to or dealing with DPEs?
I would say 6 to 8 hours a week.
Probably close. I was going to say somewhere between 10 and 20, which would have been 4 and 8.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's troublesome work. It's, hey, do you have anything open? How are you doing? How's my team doing? I just want to make sure we're doing good work. And I think some schools that don't do good with their DPE relationships struggle because they don't really care about the DPE, right? But it's one little thing that you hear people all the time say, well, schools are struggling to get DPEs. Those schools probably aren't working hard to build those DPE relationships. But at the end of the day, it's one small spoke in a wheel with 1,000 spokes, right? And so this episode is all about an opportunity for me to expose what goes on in the day in the life of a flight school owner with my co-host and partner, Wally, who spends a lot of time at UFS. His daughters have both worked at UFS. And we're going to talk a little bit about what I do and what the school does on a daily basis. One interesting thing that I prepared for was to talk about all the things that I do think about. I don't know. And if you want to send me an email, feel free, Bobby at behindtheprop.com. Like, what do you think a flight school owner does? It definitely is not counting gold bars, but it's a broad swath of a whole bunch of things. I am a generalist and an expert of nothing, but I probably spend, I don't even know how to put percentages behind some of this stuff, but facilities alone are a backbreaker, just maintaining the internet, the connectivity to the building, the electric, the water, the plumbing, the sewer, all that, the facilities, light bulbs. It's crazy how much it takes to keep up with all that stuff. And it's one of those things that when you walk into a business, you expect everything to work and you expect everything to work perfectly, but sometimes it doesn't, right? You've probably been there and there's been a trash can catching a drip from the air conditioner because there's a drain that's plugged or whatever. It's just nightmare. And it's never planned, right? You talk about unplanned maintenance, that's it. Then maintenance and safety and upkeep of the fleet and the building. I was there, I want to say I was there last weekend. There's a small puddle of water in the hangar. And I was having a panic attack thinking, man, we don't want somebody to slip on this and fall. Like, why? We got to get this cleaned up. Let's cone this off. The flight operations, the scheduling software, the scheduling in general, student records, compliance, pricing, financial management, vendors, supply management. Man, my mechanic, Ray Vialba, if you're listening, you're my best partner. E&E Aviation does great work for us, but it's a lot of management for him to manage me, I'm sure, and me to manage them to be good partners. And you have to be great partners. It's a ton of work. What about people, staff? Almost 50 employees, 25 instructors, the rampers, the dispatchers. Everybody has a different need, want, student success, operations, tons of people, bookkeepers, student success management. There's a lot of stuff that goes into maintaining those people and making sure they're happy. Then customer service, talking to parents, student success, dealing with the good, the bad, the middle, many, 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 many conversations, marketing, community outreach. The last event that I just planned, I don't think people will believe this, but we just scheduled an event with Pat Brown, a 4-time visitor of the show. That event is going to happen on May 2nd, 2026. Who would have thought we were planning an event with AOPA May of 2026? Well, you have to if you want to be successful. So that community outreach is very, very time consuming. And between now and May 2nd, 2026, Pat and I will spend a ton of time. And the marketing team at AOPA they'll ship stuff, we'll deal with stuff, we'll set up, and hopefully we'll have a great event. But that takes a ton of forward thinking. And then just the millions of odd jobs that go into a flight school, printing, keeping track of all the little do's and the things that go on. It is a big job that I love. I never complain because it's what I want to be doing. But man, it's not a dream job for everybody. And if you're not detail oriented and you don't like to deal with problems, I don't know that being a flight school owner is the right place for you to be. Wally, you've worked at a lot of flight schools. I don't need any special kudos here, but what do you observe at all the flight schools? And maybe what's one thing that you observe a little different at UFS? And then we'll switch it around and you get to interview me.
Well, I'd say the thing that is nice about UFS, well, many things. Uh, the Your instructors all have offices. Now they share them, but you have the instructor student briefing and debriefing. There's always a private place for it. Most flight schools, they're debriefing out in the lobby or standing at the counter or maybe out even in the hangar, um, weather permitting. I would say that that's probably a big thing. I will say this, another thing that I dealt with today at another flight school. I mean, and you've made a big deal about this, and when you first said something to me about UFS having this, I didn't I didn't even know what you were talking about, and
I'm looking forward to hearing this.
yeah. Well, you told me that all our parking spaces are pull-through parking spaces. I went, "What? What are you talking about?" And then it occurred to me, then I thought, well, now I when I thought about it, I understood what you meant. You're probably the only flight school that I deal with where students aren't dealing with tow bars and pushing airplanes around and pulling them and moving this one over here. You get in from a flight and then there's an airplane behind you, so you have to hurry and get out of the airplane and get that tow bar and try to push the airplane in its little, slot because there's someone behind you. So, that's a nice thing about United Flight Systems.
Yeah, I joke all the time. I wish I could put that better in my marketing material, and it's everywhere in my marketing material. It's in my welcome email, and people don't understand what it means. But I do think, and this is no joke, I would bet mathematically that alone makes us 10% cheaper than every other flight school in the world. And other flight schools might have pull through parking, but they're gaining the same benefit that we're gaining because a 2.5 hour lesson is actually a 2.5 hour lesson. Those flight schools where you're having to hand move those planes, and who wants a person that's never hand moved a plane to be hand moving a plane? But those students hand moving those planes, it's eating into that lesson time. So a 2.5 hour lesson, if you can pull the plane out under power, that's a plus. A lot of schools, you don't. You have to pull the plane to an area where you can start it, and so the prop wash isn't a problem, but you can never reverse the plane in the parking spot, and that contention takes time. You're probably paying the instructor. They're gonna be charging you for that time. You might not be paying for the aircraft because the aircraft is turned off, but you're losing 10% of your flight time. Like a 2.5 hour lesson is gonna be 2.2 at best because of all the hand moving. So it's something that I'm a huge believer sets us apart, but most people are like you. They're like, why is pull through parking such a big deal? And it is because we're pretty unique in the fact that we own the land and that land is grossly large compared to most flight schools, where they're renting as little space as they can because the airport won't give them more, and it's a big deal. So we're breaking this show up into 3 parts, and it's an aviation show, so we're breaking it up into aviation terms. We're gonna say that I assume you wanna know what a day in the life of a flight school owner is like. So we're gonna first off, the takeoff segment of our flight plan today is gonna be my morning routine and what we do in the morning at UFS. The middle part is gonna be the cruise segment. That's gonna be midday operations and kind of the things that happen throughout the day at a flight school. And then we're gonna approach to land, and that's gonna be wrapping things up as the day kinda comes to an end. So, Wally, it's kinda your show to interview me now. Ask away.
Well, starting with taking off. So, what's the first thing you do when you get to work in the morning?
Well, normally it's say hi and do the pleasantry stuff, but I would actually say my day starts a little bit before that. I wake up and normally the first thing I do is pick up the phone and look at the weather app on my home screen. I'm a huge fan of an app called Windy. It's a free website, windy.com. Their premium content is not that expensive. I want to say less than $20 a year. And it provides a really cool vertical representation of the sky, the moisture in the air, what we can expect from precipitation. The temperature dew point spread is shown in kind of a bar that goes across the sky on how far the temperature dew point spread is. And in Houston, Texas, that's a big deal based on the humidity. I get the weather in Celsius. I get a lot of information about the barometric pressure throughout the day. And I mean, at a glance, I can see whether or not it's going to be a good day for the school or a bad day. So normally it's the weather. I'm checking weather. Um, and then it's kind of a kickoff. There's probably something lingering from yesterday that the loop needs to be closed on. And then there's probably things that I had planned to attack that I want to make sure the team's attacking. I don't know if our school's comparable to most schools. You see more different flight schools than I do, but we probably have almost 50 employees. And we started when I bought the flight school, we had like 8 employees. So 8 employees to 50 employees is a very different world. And now we have managers, and I'm talking to those managers and trying to get set up for a successful day. And normally just asking what I can do to help the team be successful. But it is mostly weather and then kind of what the schedule looks like through the day. Like, is there any gotchas? How many check rides do we have? Everything good for those check rides. And just trying to do everything I can to make everybody successful. That's the start. That's the very, very start of when I walk in the doors.
It's interesting you say that because my alarm typically goes off at 6 in the morning, and first thing I do is look at the weather, decide if I roll back over or actually get up and hit the shower. Um,
There you go.
well, yeah. So speaking of the weather, so how does that morning weather check influence your day?
I think it's really twofold to me. Bad weather is not the end of the day necessarily. We have a full motion simulator. We can teach a lot of ground. It's trying to understand how much of the day is going to be impacted and how many students are going to be impacted and how do we deal with that? Meaning, how does our student success team react to the students and talk to the students and figure out where's the balance of continuing them towards success? If it's a early morning fog layer, it's going to bust the first set of lessons, and hopefully we get some sim and some ground done to help our students. But it just depends on how much of it is. When it's a complete washout, some days I wonder what's the greater good. How do we help everybody? Do we just close for the day? Do we still come in and fight the good fight? But it's Houston, Texas. If you've been anywhere close to it or even read a book about it, we can see 4 seasons in a day, and the prediction of the weather is never accurate. So normally I take it with a grain of salt, and we're going to fight the good fight, unless it's hurricane season and there's a hurricane right over Houston. Probably not, but it changes the way we think about it. And what's crazy that some people don't think about is if it's a really bad day, I immediately start thinking about how many squawks can we solve, because mechanics, they can work in bad weather. They can put hangars, they can put planes in hangars. And man, every green nav light that might be out that we've not flown at night for the last 3 days, maybe that's a great day to get all that little nitpicky stuff done. And I get excited. Sometimes I get excited about bad weather. They're like, oh my God, we're going to clean this squawk list from 20 to 0. Doesn't always work, but I think about what do we do to keep moving the school forward no matter what the weather prediction is.
Do you ever, like a long range, maybe a 4 or 5-day forecast if it looks like you're gonna have horrible weather for the next 3 to 4 days, and then, maybe good weather after that for a few days, do you ever say, "Okay, maybe it makes sense to put this airplane in for its 100-hour 5 hours early," to recoup if it's not gonna be flying anyway?
Yeah, we've made that prediction many times, and many times we're successful, but also we've made mistakes, right? The 4-day forecast is probably fairly accurate, but sometimes it changes, or maybe that storm comes through 3 days. It comes in 3 days instead of 4 days, and then me and my mechanic are having problems, right? He's put all his mechanics on other work and got ready for my load that was coming on day 4, and I'm like, "Hey, it happened yesterday. Any chance I could keep the plane?" It's a juggling act, but that's the fluidness of a flight school. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. I try to partner and say, look, we're going to keep the schedule that we had, but sometimes we're wrong. And it's more of a detriment than it is a benefit by trying to predict it.
Right, right, okay, so when you're looking at yesterday's operations, what are you looking for when you're reviewing the previous day's operations?
For me, it is kind of utilization as a whole. And again, I think smaller schools might think of it a little bit differently, but with a fleet of 24 and a full motion simulator, I kind of look at predicted, what were we supposed to fly, and then what did we fly? And that's normally a lagging indicator of did we have more maintenance issues or more weather issues than we were expecting? And our software, and the CEO's been on the show, Flight Schedule Pro is a great tool that we use. It's got some predictive analytics on what is coming this day or week as it relates to flight hours. And then you can look back and say, how much of that did we actually do? So it's a simple report that I get each morning that kind of tells me of the what we'll call 100 hours of flight time we were supposed to have, how many of that 100 hours did we fly? And if it's anywhere in the 80% range, it's probably a good day. If it's down in the 20% range, something significantly happened that we weren't expecting. And some of it's out of our control. So, we've recently had a pretty big accident at the airport, not related to us, that closed the airport for 3 days. I mean, you're not going to fly much when you can't take off, right? So, in those instances, you know what happened and you move on. There's nothing you can do about it. But it's me always trying to gain control of things that I can't control, and I'm pretty pathic about it, and I'm never gonna win that battle. But it's a look back at, hey, how many people called in sick? Was there something was there some other anomaly that happened? And then just make sure that the money that we were expecting got collected. I hate to talk about money, but it's a real deal. I'm a small business owner. If we were expecting to generate X amount of income for the day, we need to be somewhat close to that because I got a lot of people to pay. And I got a lot of oil filters to replace and lots of quarts of oils to put in those planes. And I know we burn thousands of gallons of avgas. So we got to find a way to pay for all that stuff. And that's what makes a fly school healthy. So I definitely look back at that as well.
Yeah, so how do you handle leftover issues from the day before while setting new priorities?
Well, it's like everybody else in the world. Firefighting is the easiest thing to get focused on, but probably it's probably the least valuable thing to focus on. And when something's on fire, you can't let it just keep burning. So we fight fires like everyone else. I think I've matured as a small business owner in the last couple of years and try to spend less of my time fighting fires and me working on the big rocks that are going to make the business better long term. Of course, I get drawn into fires like everybody else. Um, but those things that linger, the fires that linger, or the projects that didn't get finished that were supposed to get finished yesterday, I think the team believes and knows that I've got a pretty good way of keeping track of that stuff. And quite often I'd scratch a project if we don't get done with it, and it just ends up not being as valuable as maybe we thought it was. Close the loop on some of those fires. Like when that incident happened, there was planes stranded in other places. Did we all get them back? Did everybody get home safe? How did that work out? That's normally a stand-up huddle with my leadership team through the hallway. But then I try to level and get the team level set back on. These are the big rocks. We really need to focus on the most valuable things for us right now, not the most urgent things. And it's a theme that I think everyone recognizes on my team, but important is much more valuable to the school than urgent. And so fires got to be fought, but man, I try to spend as little time as possible fighting fires.
Yeah, for about, I don't know, 10 or 11 years, I was a president of our local swim team, which was a neighborhood swim team, and it was a big swim team. We had close to 400 swimmers. We had 6 coaches, 2 pools, and, it was a volunteer position, but parents always had suggestions to me, "We need to do this," or "We need to do
Nice
this."
way of putting it.
And
Nice way of putting
yeah,
it.
and I finally said what I came up with 4 things. I said when somebody would have a suggestion to me, I would say, "Okay, first of all, tell me how we're gonna fund it, how much is it gonna cost, how are we gonna implement it, how are we gonna manage it, and when the season's over, how are we gonna track it so we can see if this thing that we did really added value to our swimmers and our parents." And, again, the 10 or 11 years that I was president of this, I had one parent who actually came through and kind of presented everything, and it was a great idea, and we implemented it, and it was really good. But, it's just funny how people wanna, "We need to do this." Well, how are we gonna do that? "Well, I don't know, but you need to do it." So,
You had
anyway.
a customer one time tell me that I was missing a huge opportunity in flight training. I needed to mount mounts on all the wings and all the trusts of the planes and rent GoPro cameras to everybody that came through. And I was like, how much money is that gonna make? Like, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of capital expense, and if no one rents a GoPro camera, I'm out all that money. And how much could you rent the GoPro camera for? And how many
Right.
days will a GoPro camera last before it got broke? I mean,
Right.
granted, that's a great idea, but that didn't happen, and I
Well, that
doubt
might
that would move the needle.
yeah, it might create a little distraction too to your students.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So worried about
So
them
yeah.
pictures.
So how do you keep in touch with your students and instructors right from the start?
Yeah, I'd like to take a little bit of time to say this is one thing I care a lot about, right? And I don't talk about it much. I don't even think I've ever talked about it on the show, but internally we have a we have a saying, UFS to the fifth power, and everyone's trained on it when they start working there. And it really is about, it's the S to the fifth power. It's the five S's of United Flight Systems. And it is safety is the most important thing. We're never going to waver. We're never going to chintz on anything. Safety's number one. The second thing is students. The third thing is staff. The fourth thing is school. And then the fifth thing is self. And if we keep that in mind, I think we're all going to be really, really successful. And so if I'm going to live that myself, then I've got to be a safety junkie and I've got to care about students. So as soon as I get there, you've been to my office. I've got two big pocket doors that open into the entryway hallway to the flight school. Everyone that walks in the flight school has to see me when I'm there. Occasionally, my doors are closed if I'm recording a show or we're having a employee one-on-one of some sort. But if not, my doors are open and I'm there and I say hi to people and I talk to them. And normally I know where they're at in their training and I try and check in with them. I don't try to distract them. They're there for their business. But if they want to talk to me, they want to tell me an idea or share their thoughts, I'm all about feedback. And likewise, there's not a way that the instructor can get to those offices that you just ranted and raved about without passing by my doors too. And so I have the opportunity to check in with them. And the last 48 hours, I've flown with two of my instructors. I try to spend time in the air with the team. It is time consuming and hard, but I love doing it. And it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes other things take more importance and I have to do them. But man, I love to spend time with students and the team. And I really want to hear what they have to say. I've owned the school for 8 years. I've missed one safety meeting, and I participated in that safety meeting via Zoom because I had been diagnosed with COVID. Um, I am just a very involved owner. I hope all the other flight school owners out there are as involved. But if you're not, that's a chink in your armor. People people wanna know that it's worth my time to be involved and be there, and if I'm not involved, why should they be involved? So, I take great pride in how much time and effort I spend and put into the flight school, and I think it is a little bit of a difference that people see at United Flight Systems for sure.
And your instructors are actually employees, correct? Which
They are.
is a little bit different. I mean, I would my guess is most flight schools that the instructors are not, they're contractors.
I would think most are clubs who hire subcontractors. One of the big brands recently got in a lot of trouble for having contractors that they were treating like employees, and that that court case has been solved, and they've solved that problem collectively. Um, the right thing to do is to make a flight instructor an employee because it's best for the employee and it gives them some real connection, and it's best for the student. Um, anybody Anybody that knows anything about flight training, if you're an independent, the it's a big job for you, no question, and I applaud all the independents out there. It's the student who's more important than the instructor in every situation, and an employee will have a different obligation to do the schedule and to do the work to help that person be successful. There's independents that probably do better than employees, no question. I'm not saying that they don't, but they don't have the same infrastructure. They don't have the same planes, the same control, the same systems, the same tools, the same everything backing them. And I treat my employees like employees. I expect them to be employees and I expect them to live by the five S's. If you own a flight club and you have three contractors that come and go when they can or want to, that relationship's going to be very different for the student and it's going to be difficult. So um, I think it was a shock a few years ago when we went to all employees, but it's the right thing for both employee and students for sure.
Yeah. So,
So that's my morning. Now we move to kind of our cruise segment. Hopefully, we've used our checklist. We've done our checklist. We're now in cruise flight. What's the midday at a flight school look like, Wally? What do you want to know about the middle part of my day?
what are some common surprises? Give us a couple of examples.
Well, if I didn't start with maintenance, I'd be lying. So it's maintenance, right? Normally, well, it's probably in the morning segment, but normally in the morning, I get two notifications about squawks right off the bat, and they're normally flat tires. Um, it happens. I think when I first bought the flight school, I freaked out and panicked every day. But, they have tires and they have tubes, and these planes are flown a lot, and there's going to be a problem. And so rampers get there in the morning. They find a couple tires that are low, or maybe one that's completely flat. We go through our internal processes of verifying what might be the problem and then get maintenance involved. But throughout the day, you've been around, Wally. Planes won't start. I don't think it's a fault of any one individual, but they get hot, they don't start. Things have to get shifted around. It's a it's a controlled amount of chaos that I don't think anyone can possibly imagine. How many golf carts are running back and forth to maintenance facilities? How many people are looking to swap planes because of this, that, and the other? Um, man, I have an idea, but if I could solve the push to talk problem in the world, I would be a bazillionaire. If a push to talk button becomes intermittent, it's a really big problem for a flight school, and it's not a quick fix. So all those little maintenance things kind of just churn and churn and churn, and they don't go away. You got to act with them, and that's why having a great maintenance facility is key, and that's why I think E&E is my biggest and most valuable partner for sure.
Yeah. So, do you have a story you can share about handling a challenging situation?
Man, I got millions of them. And I've got the really bad ones where planes have had incidents on the runway and we've had to deal with those things with some bent metal. Nobody's got hurt, thank goodness. But those are, you just know you got to work through those. The fun ones that are challenges are really good to me, and they're not cheap by any stretch. They're still maintenance issues, but there's nothing more exciting to me, I think, than having a problem that I know I can solve, but it not being easy. So a plane at Navasota with a flat front tire is a great challenge. Normally, it's a great challenge because I get to fly the mechanic over there with a new tire and tube, and we get to replace it. He gets to replace it while I sit on the tail. Um, those type of challenges are what I like young pilots to see because they need to understand this is your life. Look, you fly professionally. How many times are you waiting an extra hour on maintenance?
A lot.
A lot. How
Yeah.
many times are you waiting for a storm to blow through? A lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if there's a thunderstorm right over our home airport where
Right.
you depart from every day, you're not going to get to take off in a thunderstorm, but
That's
20
correct.
minutes later, you probably will.
Yeah.
Um, so waiting on weather and maintenance is always a thing. I also love to help a student kind of get over that knowledge hump. I'm not an instructor, but when I see someone struggling, I am at heart an educator still. I like to teach people something from time to time and a way to think about their planning or what they're doing. They're struggling with some segment of their training, and I give them, I feel like they receive a silver bullet from me that gets them over a hump. That's fun and exciting. And those challenges are the greatest challenges because they remember and they come back and they tell you, months later, that was the thing that got me over the hump. And I remember all of our students. This is not smoke and mirrors. I literally probably remember the first day we met Wally when I did my check ride with you. I remember the first day I met Michelle. I remember the first day I met Carly. For whatever reason, that's my superpower. I just remember, don't remember names as well, but I remember meeting and the interaction and what people's goals were. And I just love when there's a challenge that I help them with, and then I see their success down the road. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, what's one behind the scenes task you wish more people understood about running a flight school?
People management. There's no better way to put it than people management. I've been a manager at big companies like Microsoft and Dell, and it's a it's a it's a tough job no matter what the climate is. But in the world of aviation, there's a lot of different types of personalities. In the sales org, like at Microsoft, most people are type A and it's climb the mountain and I'm gonna burn the bridges as I go. At a flight school, the instructors, there could be some introverts, extroverts, um, and they all have a different way of consuming information. There's age difference. No one teaches you this, and luckily, I think my 30 plus years of corporate America groomed me to do this, but people management is not easy. People have no idea the text messages I get late at night complaining about different things. There's no idea. I just got invited to one of my flight instructor's birthday parties on Saturday night or Sunday night. And that makes me feel so proud that one of my instructors would like me to be at their birthday celebration. And I'm recording a podcast and they're thinking about me. That's great. I'll get another text message tonight about somebody who can't come to work tomorrow and I got to reschedule 4 flights for them. And there's no dispatcher there. This is nothing I can delegate. And so the all up people manage, it's nonstop. It's 24/7. I get woke up because the dispatcher or ramper set off the alarm 2 days a week. It's crazy the things that go on that people have no idea, um, and it's just fun challenges. I don't know how to describe it, but I wish people knew how many balls were in the air. If I was thinking of myself as a juggler, I would bet there's 50 balls that I got in the air right now, and they're all equally important to someone. They're
Right.
not equally important to everyone. And so in the past week, I've got a text about some really bad things that someone was accusing an employee of. It took 8 hours this week to resolve that. And at the end of the day, when I got to the bottom of it all, the employee said, I I just don't feel the same way that person feels. Like the person that was being um The person that was being wronged said, "No, I'm not being wronged at all." So it was a perception thing. But you gotta have 8 hours of conversations with 9 different people to get to the bottom of that, to do your due diligence, and I think good people managers do that, and it's a challenge that no one knows happens. They have no clue how much that happens behind the scenes, and it makes for a happy workforce, it makes for a happy student base, and it's just part of it. I think my wife's the one who hates it the most because I think she
Yeah.
wishes I could relax sometimes, but it's never ending, and I love it. It's a big part of my job, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do you keep your team motivated when unexpected challenges arise?
Um, Sometimes money, sometimes fun times, sometimes good times. I think I am a realistic, positive force for the team. I'm not the happy gas guy like, "Oh, the sun will come out tomorrow. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be better." Right now we're kind of in this hiring lull, and I would think everyone's freaking out. Is it gonna turn around? Is it gonna come back? And it feels a little COVID-esque, for me as the flight school owner that, you know, the instructor that has 1,700 hours thinks the world's crashing and they're never gonna get a job. They don't realize that 10 years ago, you had to have 4,000 hours to get a job, and that probably still wasn't good enough unless you had 1,000 multi, right? They don't know how good the
Right.
market
Right.
really is. It's
Right.
kinda current world times. Um, but no, I'm not worried about hiring. It's actually a good thing for the students right now that we've got some senior meat on the bone that's really helping groom the younger CFIs, and there's tough times every day. I've said it once. I'm not going to talk anymore about it after this one, but there was a really big accident this past week at our airport, and a couple people lost their lives, and it impacted everyone in a different way. But one thing I can say is it impacted everyone. Like everyone that works at that airport has a feeling about it, that has a reflection on it, and you kinda just gotta give everybody a virtual hug and give them some space. I had a guy literally yesterday tell me, "Wally, I thought I could be more stoic about this, and I'm kinda mad at myself I'm not more stoic." And I said, "Man, that is the wrong attitude. You don't have to be stoic about this. This is your livelihood, this is your job, you fly planes, you literally saw a couple people die in a plane crash. That's not something to say I should be stoic about. Just
Right.
take it whatever you take it, however you take it. Embrace whatever you're feeling and embrace it, and don't try to push through it. That's the worst thing you could do. An external pressure like that's what we talk about all the time. Don't do that. And when those bad things happen, I would like to think I'm a positive voice that gets people motivated, but if nothing else, I can tell you I don't judge anyone's feelings. I don't push people to think a different way, and I think that has resonated with people that know me, and they do stay motivated. I encourage people to tell me what they're upset about, and I think that's part of it. I'm supposed to be that person that listens to those complaints, and I do try to take action when I can. I can't solve everything. I can't solve that those people are gone, but I can let people take some time off. I can give them some space. I can let them fly with the chief before they fly alone again. Like there's a lot I can do, and I do what I can. Um, I'm sure I've not done it perfectly every time, but I can only get better with time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, go ahead.
Go for it. I mean, we're at the landing phase now.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
approached the
Yeah. Yeah.
landing. We're wrapping things up.
Well, so how do you shift from the busy pace of the midday, everything going on or wrapping things up in the evening?
I would like to say alcohol, but that's not it. I wish there was a bottle sometimes in my desk, but that's not it. Um, I think there's this weird time of day when the maintenance facility starts to close and planes start coming back, that things just get a little bit easier. Um, and the days are getting shorter in Houston, so it's kind of happening a little bit earlier right now, which is I don't like because I like the long days. But I like to think that we do a good job of kind of reversing the morning routine. We kind of have those same conversations we had in the morning with the management and the team leads about what did we get done? What do we need to work on? What's still outstanding that kind of became that morning list for the next day. We're kind of building that list. But then it's really buttoning things up, making sure that everybody knows their responsibilities to get the planes inside, the planes back to maintenance, that we stack the hangar the right way to make tomorrow easy. And had someone told me that when I bought the fly school that you'll spend a lot of time thinking about which plane goes in the hangar first, I've been like, you're crazy. It takes 10 minutes to pull them out. But the difference that taking a plane that's going in for a 50-hour on tomorrow morning and making that plane go in the hangar last so that a ramper or ops person can pull it out and start it and taxi it to my maintenance facility so that the oil's warm when they get there probably saves us one full flight a day. And that little bit of nitpicky detail orientation that I've got in my systems is saved us tons and given our students tons of extra hours of flight time. And so we start doing that at the probably 4 o'clock hour and have all kinds of routines in place and processes that we go through. But we really are trying to make sure what we wanted to get done got done, and what didn't get done becomes that next morning checklist so we can do it all again. And I think a lot of people don't understand this. There's schools that close, but United Flight Systems is open 363 days a year. We only close on Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day. And I want to say the last 5 years, I've been at the fly school on Christmas morning to pull planes out so that our students and renters could take planes to go see their family. And last year, my wife said, "This is the effing last year you're doing that." So sorry, students, no planes this year on Christmas Day. But it's a process, and we've got the process figured out, and it's kind of the reverse of the morning shift.
Yeah. So, what do those end of day check-ins with your team look like?
Normally pretty just much stand-up conversations like, "Hey, what's going on? You asked me to do this. I got this done. I need help with this. I didn't get done. I'm gonna help you tomorrow." It's normally just a conversation, lots of email recap kinda stuff. Normally subtle. Occasionally, that's where you have an opportunity to have a more open conversation. Morning's kinda more busy, afternoon's kinda more less busy, not so time sensitive because the planes are kind of ending their day. But, I normally have a chance to check in on those people and their mental health, how they're doing, what do they need from us, the leadership team. But, it's normally just a stand-up conversation, sometimes a text message. Sometimes we don't get to talk in person, but it's normally a healthy conversation about what's got done and what needs to get done tomorrow.
Cool. So, how do you make sure your student records and milestones are wrapped up each day?
Interesting. This has evolved recently, actually, quite a bit at United Flight Systems. So we have a dispatcher, customer service rep up in the front that meets our students and does all the keys and bag handing out when the student and the airplane are qualified to go fly. And recently, we found that the most prevalent person that knows all of those things is the dispatcher. And so we've just started the dispatcher to send an end of shift message, morning shift and evening shift, of all the milestones, which they must provide temporary certificates. If Wally did a check ride, we get the temporary certificate and we get the photo, hopefully, of Wally and that student standing by the plane and maybe the CFI. And that all gets emailed to us. If there's a discontinuance or a disapproval, those forms are attached to that email as well. And then we get a summary report at the end of each shift on any training records that weren't logged. And those CFIs that maybe didn't log the training at the time they were supposed to, they're on the naughty list and they will get a conversation with Bobby that they don't want to have. And I think that's few and far between. And normally it's something that happened timeline wise. But we've got reports. Our system, again, Flight Schedule Pro is a great tool, sends us that information, and then the dispatcher sends us the milestones. All the good stuff comes from the dispatcher, and then that stuff hits the socials within minutes of those emails coming to us for sure.
So, from a personal standpoint, what do you do to keep your own flying skills sharp at the end of each of the day?
You ever heard the saying, "Shoemaker don't have nice shoes"? Unfortunately,
Uh,
that's pretty true. A flight school owner doesn't get to fly near as much as he wants to. I know you have a new plane, and I'm jealous that I haven't got a ride in that thing yet, but I might not fit. But I love to fly. I just don't get to do it near as much. But the last 48 hours, I've got 3.8 in my logbook. I've got 6 approaches. I've got a hold. My track logs look amazing because I'm in our new Top Hawk airplane with NXI and autopilot. So I'm a Jim. It's got a go around button, a 172 with a go around button, Wally. It's amazing.
That's nice.
And when it's on autopilot, if you go missed, it's amazing. But my skills are still there. I love to fly. My wife and I are taking a trip tomorrow to go to a concert in another state. I love the opportunity to use the fleet. It just doesn't happen near as much as it should. In the piston planes, I get to fly the Vision Jet occasionally as well. Um, but if look, it's kind of I think if people knew how little I flew, they'd be really disappointed because they think of them if they're thinking of themselves being a flight school owner, they think they would fly every day. But it is kind of how I make money, so I need those planes to fly. What's really cool is the sim's almost empty every evening at 4 o'clock. And so sometimes I just go jump in the sim and I'll shoot 2 or 3 approaches. I'll shoot them all over the country. I'll pick a city I've never been to, and I'll pick an airport, and I'll put myself like 5 miles out, and I'll pick a direction of flight, and I'll pull up the plate and shoot it as if I would diverted there and had never been there before. And I think that makes me a better pilot. I can brief a plate in a city I've never been to because I've done it hundreds of times, where I think we kinda get landlocked in our own little 50-mile radius and don't see a lot of other things. So, if I don't get to fly for 10 days, I can assure you I've been in the sim at least an hour, shooting some approaches, and it's one of the benefits of owning a flight school with a full motion simulator.
Yeah, 20 feet from your desk too, right? Yeah.
20 feet from my desk, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, by the
yeah,
way, people say, "Well, you get to fly it for free." No, I bought it. So, I probably spent more on that sim than people that got 50 hours in it. So,
yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
necessarily free, but I don't invoice myself at the end of the day, that's for sure.
Right, right. So how do you reflect on the day's success and start planning for tomorrow?
Success is a big word for us. I might make it one of my 5 S's or make it a 6th S one day, Wally. Success is what we think about. So, I really think about progress checks, stage checks, milestones, things that mean the student moved the needle. Um, Safety is by far the first S. So every day that we don't have something bad happen is a great day. And when I mean bad, I mean as little as dispatching a plane that shouldn't have been dispatched for whatever reason, right? And none of it's illegal type stuff. It's just keeping our A game, A plus plus game on nonstop. Um, and that there's not anybody who feels like we're leaving them behind. Um, Student success for us, our team, we call it student success. It's a group of what feels like high school counselors helping our team manage the students through their training. And we want to keep progress happening at all times. And if I feel like that's happening, great. The S's are in the right order, and I never worry about the money. The money will come if we do good for our students, and we've been very, very lucky for a long time. So it's all about how many milestone pictures did we hang? How many pictures went on the social media? How many people are holding a piece of paper that they didn't have yesterday? How many instructors got over the 1,000-hour mark? How many instructors got over the 1,200-hour mark? How many instructors got over 1,500-hour mark? It's all that success that breeds more success that's all I think about. And so at the end of the day, I try to pause and reflect like, man, we're doing really good. We're really lucky. And I will say this to every customer, every person that listens to this show, I am only doing what I do because you're out there listening to me talk today. You're at my flight school paying for your flight training, which affords me the ability to buy my wife a pair of black shoes that she may or may not need. And that's the success that breeds success. So thank you to everybody out there. I know Wally feels similarly. He is most appreciative of everyone who picks him to do a check ride. And without all of y'all, we don't have anything to do. So that means today was a very successful day.
And I just want to throw something out there about the show. We mentioned milestones. We had a milestone just a few days ago. Uh, are we bragging to tell people what we hit
I don't
on?
think so. I don't
half a
think so.
million, half a million downloads, 500,000 downloads, and it's crazy. I I walk through the cabin on my 777, and people will see my my United Airlines badge, and they'll see the name Wally, and they'll go, "Wally, are you Wally?" And I go, "Well, yeah, I'm Wally." "Oh, behind the prop, Wally?" I go, "Yeah." And so it's happened 3 or 4 times, but,
I
thank you to
jokingly
all of
tell
you
people
who
that
listen.
Wally's more proud of being a podcaster than he is a captain for a major airline. But to put
Yeah.
that in perspective, I'm a math guy. Um, that is 10,416 days of people listening to us talk. Um, that's a ridiculous number of days of people listening to us talk. And at any point in time, that means 200 or 300 of y'all are listening to us talk, which makes me super proud. I hope in some small way we've saved a life or prevented an accident from happening because of the show. And all I can do is say, please keep listening. If we deserve it, give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to our show. And no matter what you do, please stay behind the prop and be a safe pilot and fly safely. Thanks for listening to the show.
Thanks for checking out the Behind the Prop podcast. Be sure to click subscribe and check us out online at behindtheprop.com. Behind the Prop is recorded in Houston, Texas. Creator and host is Bobby Doss. Co-host is Wally Mulhearn. The show is for entertainment purposes only and is not meant to replace actual flight instruction. Thanks for listening, and remember, fly safe.